Hi, everyone.
Welcome to 5 Tips to a Happier Holiday. We're so excited that you are taking this time to be it with us today. Every year we talk to so many families who really struggle with staying grounded and connected during this time. So we just want to really reinforce that you're in the right place at the right time even if you feel like you don't have time. Right, Tracy? As a parent, you don't have a lot of free time. But we want you to really feel replenished by the end of this and to have specific tools and strategies that you can be using right away with your families. So, this is going to help if you feel like you love the holidays and you have it figured out. It's still going to help bring your family dynamic to another level. It'll also help if you feel stressed and overwhelmed during the holidays. If you feel like you are looping your to do list over and over in your head, or you find yourself losing your temper, or constantly trying to figure out how you're going to get everything done, this webinar is going to give you specific tools to help with all of that. We believe that the holidays really are a time of joy and having time with your families. So hopefully you're open to some suggestions, some things that Tracy and I have found that really have worked with for us and for the families that we've worked with. So first, we're going to give you a bit of an overview of where you're going to get from this time, and then we're going to tell you a little bit about us, who we are, who is Journey, who's Tracy, why are we here. But first, we want to really take a minute to acknowledge all of you.
Yeah, congratulations. Families all over North America are experiencing stress right now. It's the holidays and it's busy and it's the end of the year and all these wrap up things, concerts and recitals and you've recognized that it's important to take just a few minutes to step back and level set and make sure that you've got the right direction or you recognize that it's healthy to just look for opportunities on how you could be even happier. So thank you. Thank you for taking this time to think through this and this time out of your very busy day so that you can slow down and level set so you can forge forward over the next few weeks with a clearer head. Now, you might be thinking, well, you live in a household with a whole bunch of other people and you're the only one on this webinar. How could you possibly influence the happiness in your household over the holidays? Well, because you are one of the influencing members of your household, you're also one of the influencing energies of your household. So, how you live, how you breathe, how you exist affects the people around you, just like how the people around you, how they breathe, how they live, how they exist, that has some effect on you or can have. So, when someone brings a whirlwind of stress and anxiety into the house, it's swirled around and it mixes with the other energy. So if you're bringing in stress and anxiety, then that volume is going to rise. So you want to be aware of that. But if your cup is full, if you have reserves of resilience, if you're taking the time to be aware, to be mindful of what is happening with you, then you can make choices about what energy you contribute to your home and the people around you. Because it's when you are full that you can be more focused. And when you're full with a clear focus and purposeful expectations of what you actually want to create, then you're most likely to be able to keep more of the happiness in the holidays. Journey, you want to tell them what we're going to be talking about for the next little while here?
Yeah, and I want to echo a little bit of what you just said because it really is about that ripple effect. I love that you said it really starts with you and filling up your cup. And I know we'll talk about that later, but it's that ripple effect that starts with you and then ripples out to the other members of your family. So, yeah, what are we going to go over in the next 45 minutes? We're going to talk about 5 tips to a happier holiday. And really, that incorporates so much. We'll talk about ideas for incorporating quality time with your family and just making your holiday to-do list kind of just more inclusive. So we have some fun ideas for that. And you're going to leave with a few simple ways to make sure that the little people in your household are part of the holiday fun. Sometimes it can be easy to forget the quality time. So we have some fun ideas for that and ways to nourish yourself when it feels like there's no time for you. And I'll tell you, if you feel like there's no time, even more reason to make it. But we have easy ways with little or no time. And I love this one. It's don't be fooled. You are not alone. Sometimes we feel like I'm the only one that really understands what I'm going through, and I feel alone. I feel lost. Whatever that feeling is, sometimes we feel just alone in what we're going through. So we're going to remind you that there are dozens and dozens of people on this call right now who understand the same stresses that you might be feeling, and really just realizing a lot of us have similar busy to-do lists with defined time frames, and it can feel very overwhelming at times. So also at the end of the webinar, for those of you who have daughters or know someone with a daughter, we're going to also share some ways that you can bring more happiness to those special parent-daughter relationships. So make sure you stay tuned with an exciting announcement that we have at the end for a new way that we're helping young girls own their own happiness, not only during the holidays, but really all year round. So that's a little bit about what to expect, but we want to tell you a little bit about who we are, so you know a little bit about us. So Tracy, why don't you go first?
For sure, yeah. So my name is Tracy, and I have the fun job of working with individuals, couples, mothers, and daughters in as a life coach. So as the international host of Relationship TV and a certified life coach, I have been in hundreds of conversations about how busy life gets and the effect that it has on our own happiness and how that happiness deficit can seep into those around you. So I've been studying the unconscious mind and how it gets in the way of our own happiness for almost almost 15 years and debunking some of the myths that we have about ourselves. Not to mention, for the past couple of years, I've been running mother-daughter workshops and bringing mothers and daughters together to grow their connection and learn some healthy communication skills that they can build on for the rest of their lives together. So, as a mother of three daughters, the oldest being 11, I am so passionate about creating stronger families for girls to grow up confident and strong. And that's a little bit about me.
And
Journey?
yeah, my name is Journey, and I've been working on communication skills for parents and kids since I was a kid. My mom and I wrote a book on communication skills called Cool Communication when I was a young teen, and I've been giving workshops ever since then. So we were featured on numerous radio and TV shows, and Oprah was one of them. Incredible experience. But really, my passion is just working with families on growing healthy lifestyle habits and really just creating those inner conversations, that inner awareness, so that we can really truly be our best selves in all relationships, whether it's relationships with our coworkers, with our families. So I've been working in this field for about 12 years. And what's really cool about Tracy and I working together is I have been raised, there's a photo of my mom and I'm the younger one. I've been raised in this environment of the strategies that we work with, that we teach to families. So I'm a product of this. And Tracy has spent almost 2 decades researching and coaching healthy relationships, and obviously a mother of three daughters between 5 years old and 11 years old. She really knows being on, right in it. So we're using our experience. I've also coached a lot of young teens. So we're using our experience to put that together to help families. And so today it's about using that experience to really help you create strategies that work in your life through this season. So we recognize that some things might resonate if really if you find one or two things that work for you, or something you can pass on to someone you care about, then we know we're making a difference. So now that we've talked a little bit about us, and we're going to just share with you just ways to reduce some of the stressors of life. So Tracy, do you want to start us off?
For sure. Well, let's talk a little bit about stress and holiday stress and why are we even talking about this? I mean, clearly, since you're here on this webinar, you probably are feeling some of this, or you're familiar with it and want to have maybe some influence on someone around you that's experiencing some stress. So, when we look at some of the statistics around holiday stress, 8 out of 10 Americans say that they experience some stress over the holidays. Now, I'm, a mom of three daughters. I'm a wife. We've got a busy household. And I can say that I definitely experience some of the pressure and the stress that can build up over the holidays. So I almost feel like 8 out of 10 is a low number at some point during the holidays, but it definitely resonates around North America that people experience stress during this time. So we wanted to take some time to talk about that and to give you some tips on how to keep it happy. And so, what is bringing on some of that stress? Well, there's money, of course. Holidays can get expensive if you let them. Pressure to buy gifts, some external pressures there, and then of course just too many things to do. That to-do list gets so big, especially if you're hosting for the holidays. It can get very, very big. So these holiday stresses, that's all some of the stuff and it's real and it happens. So we're here today to talk about some of that. Journey, do you want
Yeah.
to talk about some of the mindfulness pieces?
Yeah, mindfulness is so important. And we just wanted to bring this up before we get into the 5 tips because if we don't feel like it's important, then we won't make space for it. And we hear mindfulness a lot. There's different ways of really thinking about it. But really, what we're talking about is conscious awareness because it's really easy to go on autopilot, right? One day becomes the next. We go into our morning, afternoon, evening, and then next day we do it all over again. So, what we're encouraging in this moment is to be proactive instead of reactive. If we're on autopilot, we're just reacting to whatever is in front of us. So, but by taking a step back, and you all are right now by being on this webinar right now, you're taking that moment to hit the pause button and check in. So we're going to give you some tools for that to find out if you're on autopilot and also just how to interrupt that mode if you are and have that conscious awareness so that we can all be more proactive with our lives. So
Oh,
I know that there are, yeah, go ahead, Trace.
well, I was just gonna probably say what you were just gonna say, that
Yeah,
we've
I
got
see the
some
questions, right? Yeah, I see some coming in.
yeah, so here's a good one. What if what if I think I am aware? How do I know if I'm on autopilot? If I think that I am aware, how do I know? Oh, that's a good one. I like that.
That is a really good one.
One way to tell if you're on autopilot is really just to stop and ground yourself, to slow things down and try to get your brain to stop thinking. As hard as that may be, just take a minute to try and stop your thoughts and just check in with how you're feeling. It's a really good way to tell because if how you're feeling is how you want to feel, um, maybe you're probably consciously making that choice. So if you check in and you find out, like, am I feeling the way that I really want to feel? Yes, I do. Well, that's awesome. You're probably quite aware of how you're reacting to the world around you. But if how you're feeling is not really how you would want to feel, like you're not choosing to feel stressed out or anxious, then there's a good chance that you're burning through your day on autopilot. So that's a really good way to just check in and say, okay, am I present in this moment? Am I really aware?
I know there's some other good questions coming in, but I think we should jump into number one.
All
Um,
right,
Sound good? So number one is it's okay to not be okay. And this is an interesting one because sometimes we feel like we have to have everything together, right? We have to make it look like it all looks good on the outside and have it figured out. But we want to just give permission that it's okay to not be okay and just to be normal about it, but don't stay there. Don't let it take over your entire world or your entire season. Um, so what do we mean by that? What are some things that can show that maybe you're feeling a bit overwhelmed? One of them is hypertasking. And this is a funny word that well, it's not a funny word, but I find it funny because it's new. I just learned about it from Tracy. I know about multitasking, but Tracy, do you want to real quick talk about this actually?
for sure, because I've told you, I thought I was an amazing multitasker until science has showed us that our brains aren't actually capable of doing two things at once. Multitasking is not really a thing. Instead, we're actually jumping back and forth between tasks just very quickly. So if you've ever written an email while you're on the phone and you find yourself typing what you're saying, that's because you can't multitask. You have to be able to jump back and forth. And so you're really only just giving a little bit of focus really quickly. So that's hypertasking, and it's definitely something that I find myself doing if I'm not being mindful during the holidays.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you did that earlier today when we were talking, right? You typed something while we were talking. I think that's normal. A lot of us do, we do that a lot. So what are some other things? Trouble sleeping, irritability, maybe lashing out at your coworkers or family, looping that to-do list over and over in your head, especially maybe when you're trying to sleep, remembering, oh, what are all those things I forgot to do today? That can create added stress. And uncontrollable fears. What do we mean by this? Things that maybe wouldn't normally be triggered by um, extra pressures that you might be putting on yourself that are creating this inner fear of being good enough or getting things done, and they just kind of take over the mind. So, what we really want to encourage is the idea of taking a moment, not a month. Breathe into that, because sometimes things can get so overwhelming that a day becomes a week, becomes a month, and the same stresses just follow week after week after week. However, when we start to create this conscious awareness and use some of the strategies you'll learn in the next few minutes, then what I found, when the way more I do it is I catch myself faster along the way, and so I'm able to kind of just re-energize myself and have a new path. So take a moment, not a month, when you're just feeling it's okay to feel not, like you don't have it together, but just having that in moments. And scrapping perfection. This is a big one for me. Tracy knows I am a recovering perfectionist, right?
Yes, you are.
I'm working on it. Sometimes, some of us will, that we just have extra self-imposed pressure that we put on ourselves to make things what we consider perfect, and if we can scrap that idea of being perfect, realizing no one is, then we can really let go of stuff and move through it faster. And it's about making a choice. And the reality is, if this doesn't feel like it's important, then we won't make the effort to make changes. So if we realize that happiness is something that brings more fun to life, and you might already be happy and wanting to just take it another level, or you might be really stressed and trying to find that feeling of happiness. So making a choice of where you're setting your bar will help you to find that drive to make these steps, to make those changes, right?
Yeah, it's like when you talk about it's okay to not be okay. One of the things I love about this topic is just that we have this idea that we should have it all together all the time, and we should be able to be superhuman and bake the cookies.
Superhuman.
Superhuman, Superman, Superwoman, superhuman, and bake the cookies and get to the concerts and get all your work and the Christmas parties or the holiday parties and all the shopping and groceries and all the other things that are involved in the holidays, and and still have a smile on our face and play games and build gingerbread houses, and that's kind of the should idea. So sometimes when we're like feeling overwhelmed, even if it's just moments of being overwhelmed, there's this we fight it to be like, I've got this, and you just keep plunging forward. So, without really recognizing, like, wait a second, like, whew, this is a lot. I'm feeling it. And we do this on purpose as like humans. We're wired to feel this way at times. So we don't want people to necessarily know that we aren't okay for reasons that we'll actually talk about later. But we have this tendency to not want to show that we're vulnerable or that we don't have it all together. Or in this particular moment, I am feeling a little like, ugh. So when we talk about it's okay to not be okay, just don't stay there. It means, hey, you can have moments of feeling overwhelmed. Just know that where it's coming from and make choices about it, and just understand the power of being vulnerable so that you can let that overwhelmed feeling out and not resist it and then move forward. So it's okay to not be okay. All right, number two.
Number two is be aware of your comparisons. It is so easy for us to compare ourselves with others, really. I mean, it's part of how we're wired. We all do it. And the key is catching ourselves in the act. So I know, Tracy, you probably have some tips on how we're wired. I know we have so much to get through, but I think it would help to kind of understand the why behind it.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I mean, I know that I catch myself doing it, and after a while, you realize how silly it is. But we are actually like genetically programmed to pay attention to the people around us and to figure out where we fit. How do we fit? Where do we fit in amongst all of the things that society or someone else or we think is important? So, and if you want to know where that comes from, I'm going to tell you because I think it's kind of cool. When you
I
when you
think it's
think
cool
back
too.
back in like when we were, caveman type, our ancestors way back then, and we had to live in groups and tribes. We had to have a community so that we wouldn't die, right? If we got outcast or kicked out of the group, then we could be picked up and eaten by a saber-toothed tiger. We just didn't have the tools or the strength to defend ourselves and look after ourselves. We needed that community to actually survive. And so we were constantly being a part of a community and depending on other people. And so recognizing, do I fit in? Am I still part of a community? How do I fit in? Am I going to be like, kind of lowest on the totem pole? Where do I fit? Just is part of the fear of not fitting in, or the possibility of not belonging somewhere, even though there's no saber-toothed tigers.
There's no real saber. But there's a version of the saber-toothed tiger in today's world, right?
Well, yeah, our brain sure thinks so, right? So if
Yeah.
you catch yourself in the checkout line and you're, kind of eyeing up the person next to you and what they're buying, that's part of that caveman brain in action. I mean, who really cares what somebody else is buying? But your caveman brain still does.
Yeah, well, and it's such a funny creature to think of, a saber-toothed tiger. I love that. But yeah, so it's about catching ourselves in the act. Having some understanding, I think, really helps. What you just shared, Tracy, is so good because it allows us to have some compassion for ourselves, right? Versus, I'm doing it again, I suck. Instead, it's, okay, I understand why I'm doing it. Catch yourself and then redirect. It's kind of like, thinking of your mind like a toddler, right? Our minds
Yeah,
are like toddlers where, okay, they're in the wrong set of they're in the kitchen utensils. Let's redirect them to their bucket of toys. And so catch yourselves, okay, I'm comparing myself again to the neighbor. I understand why I'm doing it. Now, what can I redirect? Where can I redirect my thinking? And so thinking of something positive, thinking of something I'm grateful for, something that I'm proud of with my family. That's a really good one because it'll take over the negative comparison.
for
And
sure.
just understanding that the more we do it, it's like training, it's like a muscle that we're working. So slowly training, understanding it'll happen and we just redirect. It'll happen and we redirect. And the more we do it, the easier that will become.
We've got a question here, Journey. Um, what if you can't think of something to redirect to?
That's a good question. Sometimes it will feel really hard at first and feel like you have to really stretch for something. If it's when we're happy, things are easy and going well, it's like, yeah, I could think of something. Um, but actually having moments where you're feeling low or you're feeling frustrated can be harder to think of those positive things. So you might have to stretch for it. You might have to think of, okay, I'm grateful I have 10 fingers. I'm grateful my family is alive. I'm grateful that I kept the little ones, breathing today. Um, just really reaching for things or I know,
Yeah, and well,
yeah,
there's also when it is hard, because it does sometimes, it is like, okay, I'm just going to be grateful that I have 10 fingers. That's what I've got right now. But when you are, one thing you can do, and it's kind of a cool exercise that I recommend doing it every day, is to write in like a gratitude journal. But when you do find yourself that you're in like a higher mood, or you are feeling just really like grateful, or you recognize all the things that are going well in your life, to just take a minute and write them down. Make a note on your phone, or in a little card that you keep in your wallet or your purse. Just write it down when you're in a place like feeling really grateful, because sometimes when you've lost perspective of that or you've lost sight of that, then it is harder to come up with some like real things that resonate with your, deep down. But if you have them written down, then you can just look them up.
Yeah, no, that's so handy. I like that. And keeping things in perspective, that brings us to number three, which is being able to zoom out of our immediate thing we're dealing with. Because we happen when we're in something, we've got blinders on, right? All we can see is this and nothing on the outside. And what we're experiencing in that moment feels like the biggest thing in the world. Can any of you relate to that?
Oh, yes.
And yeah, so being able to zoom out. Have you ever had a situation where you just feel like this one thing is so overwhelming, but then you talk to a friend or a family member or your partner and they bring up another perspective and that allows you to sit back and go, "Oh, that's a good way of looking at it. Now I can breathe past it or now I can just do this and move forward." So what
You
I've
know,
started to Oh yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, it's funny, as you've said this, and we've talked about this so much before, but as you were just saying that, I'm thinking about, evenings when my oldest daughter comes home and she's got some problem that's just ginormous. And in my
Oh
head, I'm thinking, man, you just need to like zoom out. And like Chris
yeah.
Hadfield says, like from outer space, when you look at a problem, it's not so big. And I was thinking about that and then thinking, like, wait, I also need to remind myself to zoom out, even though I've been telling my daughter this all the time. So,
Ah, isn't that interesting? How often are we really good at giving other people advice, right? And sometimes we need to take our own. It's that happens, I'm sure, so many of us who have so many on the webinar right now. I love that you just shared that. Yeah, and so being able to ask ourselves, because often we do really know what we need in that moment. So I've started asking myself, what other perspective can I see this from? If I were talking to a friend right now to talk me off the cliff, what would I want to hear? And sometimes that can help that, that idea of zooming out and realizing that you've done it before. So many things are repeats, right? This holiday season is a repeat. Even though it might feel stressful and so much going on, you've done it before, you've lived through it before. Yes, I'm sure this, and this are new and different, and it's extra because, however, you will make it through. And so having that understanding and realizing how can I make this time work? These kind of questions, asking yourself empowering questions, can really set you up for solutions because instead of being stuck in the sorrow of, oh, I'm overwhelmed, I'm stuck, where it just kind of sinks like quicksand, a question like this is so empowering because it makes the brain think of a solution. How can I make this work? You will suddenly start to come up with ways to make it work. So I encourage you to come up with those kind of questions for yourself and knowing your strengths, knowing those, working on your own strengths, being okay asking for help if you have people to ask for help. If you don't, just really working with your own strengths and moving forward to know how you can make it work. And writing things down, this will avoid that looping that we talked about in the beginning. Being able to write something down, checking that off. How good does it feel to check things off your
so
list?
good. So
Yeah. Tracy, don't you just write things down even if you've done them before? I think you shared that with
yeah, I
me.
just like if I've done something and I have my daily list, but maybe I did something that wasn't on my list, I just write it down so I get to check it off too.
I
It feels so
love,
good.
well, it's brilliant because then you get to celebrate yourself, right? It's those little wins through the day that help keep us motivated. So yeah,
Sometimes
write
we
things
need those
down.
little wins. Yep.
Absolutely. It makes life more fun. Find the wins. Check things up, and you're just saving your brain the extra stress of having to hold everything in there.
Yeah, and one of the other parts of keeping things in perspective is just to know your mental shortcuts. Like our brains are really good at tricking us and not paying attention to some of the good things because they're watching out for those saber-toothed tigers still. And I'm not even kidding. Like we are still wired with that primal wiring that watches out for the bad things, and we're really good at ignoring the good things because they're not going to kill us. So when we think about, our brains, we've got a bunch of shortcuts like distortions and deletions and generalizations where, zooming out is the opposite of when we magnify, which is one of the common things we do and just blow something way out of proportion. Or when we totally forget that actually we've done this before. We delete that entirely from our memory that, it's not actually that big of a deal. When you hear words like should or always or never, your brain is probably ignoring some real facts. And so when you're trying to keep it in perspective, just catch yourself saying those words and then ask yourself if it's really the truth. Is that the whole truth?
I love that.
And then we have more is not better. I love this one. More is not necessarily better and usually is not better. So when we talk about the holidays and what you want for the holidays, knowing first just what do you want? What's your ideal vision of what type of experience you want to deliver for the holidays? And then be really, really conscious of what you're adding to that experience and what things are actually subtracting or taking away from that experience. We tend to do a lot of things out of guilt. My mother was really good at this. We do a lot out of guilt. We have this idea that we should do this or it's expected of us to do this, and we allow ourselves to, kind of get sucked into this expectation to fulfill it. And in doing so, we drain ourselves and totally void our holiday experience and our ability to make it a happy holiday. So knowing what do I want for my holiday experience, and then making sure that the things you're doing is actually lining up with your family values, with what's important to you, and that you're not doing it because every Christmas movie on TV right now is is telling us that your house has to be deck the halls and boughs of holly and all, you have this idea that the lights have to twinkle or there has to be this many presents under the tree or you need a real tree or you don't need all these different expectations that the outside world kind of lays out there through consumerism and commercialism and of course through Christmas movies, which are beautiful. Holiday movies are beautiful, but is that really what your family believes? Those family values are so
Well,
important.
and Tracy, if I can jump in right now,
Yeah.
your family, you guys actually do that regularly, don't you? You check in with your family values and what's important to you guys. I love that. Maybe you
We
want to share.
do. Yeah, we do. So a long time ago when we realized how busy life was going to get with three kids and two working parents and all that other fun stuff that happens when you also want to have fun in life, we just realized that, we're going to be faced with decisions all the time that we have to make. And we need to know how we're going to make those decisions and what's important to us. And when we're trying to raise our kids and just make sure that they're making decisions that line up with our values, we need to be able to really bring them back to say, these are our values. This is what we believe, and make that consistent. So every year, the me and my husband, we go off and do our own planning retreat, and then we also do one with the whole family, where we just check in and decide, these are our values. Are they still in line? Are we living up to them? Do we have things in our life that don't line up to our values? Because, like Walt Disney said, when your values are clear, decisions are easy.
Oh, that's so beautiful. And it really is about quality time over quantity time, and quantity stuff, I should say. Quality time over quantity of stuff. Because, sometimes it may seem like kids just want more and more and more, and they might actually verbally say that, but the memories of the time with you is what is so important. I remember, because there's certain things that might just go faster if you do it on your own. But the memories that I have, like I'll never forget my mom wrapping presents, and my job was to put my finger in between the bow as she was tying the next level of the bow. So she'd do one, I'd have to put my finger, and then she'd do the other. And I felt like I had a really important job of helping make that bow pretty. Now, could she have gone faster and probably even more efficiently without my little fingers in the way? Most likely, yes. But because she incorporated me into part of her holiday to-do list, I always have that memory. And so I encourage you to think of where can you incorporate your family and your loved ones into those to-do lists. So maybe wrapping presents or grocery shopping. What if, and I understand this depends on your kids and how what they're feeling like that day and how old they are. But what if you gave each one of your kids 5 things that they had to find and it was like this treasure hunt with rules applying, no running or pushing into people, right? But how fun could that be if that works for your family? Maybe cooking together or holiday greeting cards, making them into fun art projects, things that might work for your family. Maybe, other things that aren't holiday related, exploring your own city or playing games, just enjoying the outdoors, going for walks together, maybe reading a little bit every day. Or for me, growing up, volunteering with my family, I'll never forget that, and it really set me up for things that I love to do now. So just encouraging, different ways of thinking of how can we bring our loved ones into our lives. And this brings us to number 5, which is taking care of you, because without your battery recharged, there is no more for other people. And if you feel like you're running on fumes, which so many people are these days, you might be really tired, endless to-do lists, maybe feeling unappreciated. These things can seep out in little ways of your life. So really taking time to recharge your battery, it's so important. And knowing why it's important, because if you don't believe it's important, you won't make time for it, right? So understanding how you can truly be, how I believe we all can be better versions of ourselves, better friends, better lovers, better parents, better daughters or sons, whoever's on the line, just better versions of ourselves when we are fully recharged. And the key that I found really works is scheduling time for you. So actually putting it into your schedule. And here's the thing I want to go over real quick, and then we'll do a summary and some other exciting announcements, but some really exciting or some really easy ways of doing this. Because I understand not everyone's going to have an hour or 2 hours to go get a pedicure or a massage or a day at the
Yeah, I
spa.
don't.
Yeah, right. So, how can we do that in 10 or 15 minutes? Little pockets of your day, in between calls, in between picking up and dropping off kids, in between your work. Things like breathing. It might sound silly, but it's free and it feels good and it regenerates your brain. There's actually science behind that. Where you and if you can go outside to do this, that's even better to get fresh air. But even if you're at your desk, taking a deep breath in and a deep breath out, and not this like shoulder level breath that's shallow, but a deep breath from the pit of your belly and all through your lungs. Doing that 5 or 10 times will replenish your brain. Maybe listening to a podcast while you're on your way to pick up your kids, or going for a run or a walk around your block, maybe running up and down your stairs, or music. This is always a fun one because music is just so refreshing. And for you, it might be something that you play really loud and dance really crazy, or maybe it's something soothing and soft and you get grounded and quiet. So, whatever works for you, there's also science in bouncing. You don't even have to jump off the ground, but just standing and bouncing your body gets your cells moving, detoxifies, and gets the energy flowing. Or one last one is sitting up against a wall. You're laying on the floor up against the wall with your feet going up on the wall. And what that does is the blood goes out of your legs and into your body, and the blood goes back in, ends up back in your brain to refresh you. If you can do that for 10 minutes, it can often feel like you just took a 45-minute nap. So these are some really quick ways to replenish yourself. It doesn't cost a thing. You can do it in the pockets of your life. And the key thing is making time for it. So Tracy, do you want to sum things up for us?
Yeah, we covered a lot, and we're going really fast because we know that you're busy. So hopefully you wrote some of it down. But if not, we covered 5 tips to a happier holiday. So hopefully you've got them all. So first of all, it's okay to not be okay, but don't stay there. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable or pretend you're superhuman. Just allow yourself to recognize that it's okay to be overwhelmed, but then make a choice. Be aware of our tendency to do comparisons and how that can really cause extra stress and anxiety. Keep things in perspective. Know that those mental shortcuts are happening in your brain, and then answer back to them anytime you hear words like always or never or should. And also, more is not better. And when we talk about more is not better, this is when we talked about family values, and this is how it is okay to say no, and it can feel really good when you say, actually, no, I can't do that because it doesn't line up with my family values. And that's something you can really sit comfortably with and not feel any guilt, or you know what is important to you, so you can say no. And lastly, and I believe most importantly, as Journey said, so does she, is take care of yourself. Make sure that you're full so that that happiness can seep out. Journey, we've covered so much.
I know so much so fast because we really just wanted to give you a lot of value. And yeah, we talked about ideas for incorporating quality time with your kids into your holiday to-do list and ways to nourish yourself when it feels like there's no time.
And I really hope that you guys wrote down at least one thing that you will actually try either later today or tomorrow, so that you didn't just sit on a webinar, get some great information in 45 minutes, and then do nothing. So I hope you
Yeah.
wrote at least one of them down.
And that's what it's about. It's about actually applying it. And like Tracy said, even if it's one thing, it'll make a difference. And just remembering that you are not alone, right, Tracy?
But don't be fooled. Oh, and that brings us to the exciting part. Well, one of the exciting parts is we're just really excited to announce the new program that we're running, which is about bringing girls together. Just as we promised, we were going to tell you at the end of this really quickly about this new program we're putting together to help daughters and girls to feel happier, not just during the holiday, but all year round. So as a mother of three daughters, like I've mentioned, I am just so passionate and extremely motivated to teach girls how to recognize their own power so that they don't feel the need to bring others down. And instead, they can help to lift each other up. And that's really what Girls Changing the World is all about.
Yeah, and I'm really passionate about it, even though I don't have girls like you do, Tracy. But being a girl when I was that age and accomplishing great things, I so wanted a community of other people my age that helped lift me up and made me feel even more encouraged to shine my light. So that's what we're really excited to create is Girls Changing the World. We have a website, girlschangingtheworld.com, and it's really a movement that is it's fueling the confidence of girls by teaching them to own their own feelings and let their power shine. So it's really fun. On top of the work we've been doing on the ground, running mother-daughter workshops, we're excited to really what we've seen is these girls really rising up when they're connected with other girls. And yeah, so it's something that we're inspired to share. We have a course that the girls are loving. It's a 6 week online course. So every week they get a video from us with a different strategy that they can start using right away in their school, in their life, with their friends, with themselves and their own inner thoughts, that idea those ideas Tracy will go into of interrupting our mind. So a strategy every week to start using right away. And then the parents get a conversation starter each week that links to the video. And this is really fun because it allows both of them to grow alongside each other and make those strategies work. And the girls will also get a workbook that help to apply the lessons on a deeper level.
Yeah, so what we're seeing just with, like, with some of the work that we've done already is just what happens when some of the stuff that we've talked about today but taught in a different context for younger girls. So once they know some of the stuff that's happening, they can make different choices, and they can let their power shine, and they get to join with a community of like-minded people that is safe and supportive and makes them feel confident and
And
empowered. And
empowered, yeah.
yeah, that's it's just one of the most beautiful things to be a part of and to watch that growth. The conversation starters for parents is amazing because as a parent, your daughter's going through something and you're trying to figure out how do you connect on that topic, or how do you kind of support her in her growth. Well, it's a shared journey, so very cool about that. Just quickly, we're just about out of time. We want to respect that time as much as we can, but just to give you an idea of what we talk about in this quick course, it's 6 weeks. We talk about interrupting your own mind and catching your negative self-talk, which is so common in growing girls, catching it so that it's not going to bring you down. And we talk about confidence and where that comes from and how to grow that confidence. And we talk about the influence of other people around us and how we have to be so careful about, what energies we're attracting in our lives. And we talk about choosing happiness and the fact that that is actually a choice and some practical ideas on how to do that. We talk about mood boosting with compliments and how empowering it is for not just the person you're complimenting, but what that actually does for yourself as well. And we talk about frustration filters, when stress and anxiety are really, really growing, how can we manage those in a more healthy way? And that is a very fun conversation to have with your child. That's a good one. So at the end of 6 weeks, your daughter has been introduced to these new concepts that essentially is going to change the way that she sees the world. And not just that, but also the way that she sees herself in the world. And she's actually going to have these activities that she'll have done, so she's starting to really practice some new habits that are going to teach her more resilience and how to choose happiness. And people have been pretty excited about the work we've been doing.
Yeah, I love hearing feedback. It just makes it feel like it's all worth it. So we have Daniela who talked about the girls in the group and how accepting and authentic they are, and how she felt like she really was able to connect on so many things. And one of the things that I love that she talks about are the practical lessons. So for her to see these strategies as practical lessons that can be used right away, that's what it's all about. And Cassidy, who's 12, this is such a powerful testimonial that it changed her way of life in an absolute great way, and that she feels she makes more friends because she's more outgoing and talk to people. So just being able to have that effect for the girls to connect with each other and feel more confident, feel more empowered, for the parents to be saying that they're realizing their girls are talking about their own emotions and in with clarity and strength in a new way. So it's great. It's increasing communication for families and creating that next level, right? The bonus I am excited to talk about because it's probably one of my favorite parts about the whole course. It is just a bonus because we understand that with different people's schedules, it might not work for everyone. But what this is an online coaching opportunity. Once a week, we all get online with the girls, all come on with Tracy and I. It's all video like that with everyone's faces, so they get to see each other. And the girls get to see that they're not alone. They are able to share things that they're going through. We talk about the tips that in the video that they'll have just received. We'll talk about that topic. And then really, we're just facilitating them learning from each other and sharing what they're finding that works or overcoming. And it's just such a great thing to lift them up. So you can register for this or to find out more. I see someone's question, where can you find out more information? So the website is girlschangingtheworld.com. It's right there on the slide, girlschangingtheworld.com.
Yeah, and we've got a few other questions coming in. We're running a little over.
So
Um,
why don't we, before we get into questions, let's just do a wrap up, and then that way whoever needs to go can go, and we can stay on maybe for a few minutes to do questions. Does that sound good?
that's a great idea. So thank you so much again to everyone who came. Like, we're so much about just spreading happiness and helping to families grow stronger. And we really, really hope that this helped you to have more happiness over the holidays. And you've got some really practical tips that you can just start using right after you hang up the phone. So
At
very
least one.
happy. Yeah, at
Even
least
even
one.
if it's
At
just
least
one thing, right, that you can start using for yourself or your family, or share a tip with a friend who might need a pick me up. And yeah, even if it's just one thing that works, right?
exactly. So if you've got more questions about the course, we're answering a few more questions here. So stay on and we'll go through those. If you've got to run because life is really busy and you got to rush off to something, totally understand. That's what this is all about. So you can find more information at girlschangingtheworld.com, and we'll stay on for a few more questions. All right. So we've got, what else do we have here, Journey? We've got,
All right, well, I
um,
saw one question, which is, okay, there's one here. If so I only have sons, I don't have a daughter, but there's someone that I can think of who would benefit from this course. how can I register for someone who's not my own daughter? Do you want to
Oh,
answer
yeah,
that?
that's a great question. So amazing. That's really beautiful. Um, yeah, absolutely. So you can go online and register if it's someone you know. You can go online and register for them and get them signed up for the course, and they'll participate. And you would get the conversation starters, and you can share those with whomever to keep the conversation growing. If the person that you're thinking, or you don't have a specific person in mind, but you just want to make it more accessible, then we do have a scholarships fund. So yeah, just email us at girls@girlschangingtheworld.com and let us know, and we can definitely put that into the scholarship fund.
Yeah, and on that note too, we don't want finances to be something that comes in the way. So if you feel like this is something that would change your daughter's life or impact someone else that you know and finances are a tough thing, please still reach out to us. We're this is our passion is to help these girls and give them this platform. So we don't want that to stop you. We do have this scholarship fund where people are putting in money to sponsor a girl, so please reach out. Like Tracy just said, the email is girls@girlschangingtheworld.com, and you can also find that on our website. So yeah, that's something that we're passionate about. Are there any other questions that you saw throughout the thread, Tracy?
We've got, let's see, there's a few more here. Thank you, thank you. That was great. Oh, that's nice. Some people had to sign off. Oh, our schedule is really busy. I'm not sure we can make the group call. When is it? That's a good question.
Yeah, that is a
Schedules
good
are
question.
busy.
Yeah. Yeah, so we do have a few different times you'll see when you click on it on our website. There are three different times you can choose from. So hopefully that will work. If it doesn't work, again, reach out to us. We're happy to work with your schedule. There might be a few other girls that are also looking for a similar time, and so we can create a separate group. If we have four or more, we can create another time. So whether you have four or we find others, um, just reach out to us. We're happy to have the conversation and get that rolling. So I
Absolutely.
think we should wrap up. You guys, if you have any other questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Were you going to say something, Tracy? Did I
I
cut
was
you off?
going to say the exact same thing.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, reach out to us. This is obviously something that we love to do, and hopefully you found something that you can take with you during this season and really beyond that.
Happy holidays.